Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us. This is another edition of the Bitcoin Minute, and let's get right to it. What we're going to cover on this show is basically the developments that have unfurled in the past month. The big fundamental bullish news everybody knows about by now is optimism that a spot Bitcoin ETF will be released soon. One was just announced in Europe last week. One was just announced in Europe last month. So the US having a spot ETF in Bitcoin is long overdue. And of course, that would be vastly fundamentally bullish. And then we'll go over some short-term technicals that are actually bearish applications for a spot Bitcoin ETF. And so far, the SEC has shot down every single one of them. In the pipeline now, we have 5 applicants coming from Wise Origin Bitcoin Trust, Wisdom Tree Bitcoin Trust, VanEck Bitcoin Trust, and Invesco Galaxy Bitcoin ETF, as well as, of course, BlackRock's. But what makes BlackRock's ETF so much more significant than these others? I'll explain. Well, simply it is the biggest money manager in the entire world, currently managing actively around $9 trillion US dollars. And not only that, they have a flawless record with the SEC. All of their ETFs that they have previously submitted have a 99% success rate for getting accepted by the SEC. That's what makes BlackRock a shining star in this group of 5 big companies, all veering for the very first spot Bitcoin ETF in the US. So just to highlight the potential that a spot Bitcoin ETF could bring to adoption. Now, this idea I can't take credit for. It was Charles Edwards, and he said the best example I can give for what a Bitcoin spot ETF would do to the market is just to compare it to when gold had its own ETF finally approved in 2004. So going back to a gold chart spanning from 1985 to 2005, you can see that gold was not doing so well. Similar conditions to what Bitcoin is facing now. After hitting a peak, it has slowly trotted down and is making somewhat of a comeback. But this green line right here represents when the Spider Gold Trust was finally released. And as you can see, pricing was at $424 per ounce. Let's go ahead and see what happened in the years and months to come after the Spider Gold Trust was launched. As you can see, it wasn't long after that ETF was launched that gold really took off like a rocket. And here I'm going to also make the case that gold and Bitcoin both follow the same cyclical wave patterns. Bitcoin tends to do it in a quicker manner than gold, but I just want to bring your attention to gold and Bitcoin. Gold from 1960s on to 1970, flat as a pancake, same as Bitcoin up to about 2017, of course. And then as you can see, it had a moderate spike from $60 up to $196, and we got a moderate spike in Bitcoin, and then we had a small decline and a major rally, which actually had 2 peaks, just like Bitcoin's all-time highs. So that makes me even more confident that a Bitcoin ETF can have this tremendous effect on Bitcoin's price. So I'm betting that when an ETF finally gets approved, prices are going to soar. But what's going to happen until then? And for that answer, I'm going to look at some short-term technical charts we have a 1-day candlestick chart up above of Bitcoin. And as you can see, the first thing that sticks out to me, and possibly the strongest indicator that I feel is illustrated on this page, showing that Bitcoin will likely continue lower, is the break below this 21-day exponential moving average. It's a very clear-cut indicator. It works quite well. Simply put, if the price is above this moving average, be bullish, go in long. If it's below, be bearish and go short. And breaking below this and also finding resistance at this level for the last 3 days, actually 4 days, makes me really think that Bitcoin is going to come down until that ETF gets approved. That is also confirmed by the Vortex indicator by means of the red line being above the green line, although they look like they might want to cross. This is only a daily frame, so don't pay much attention to this. But also the MACD is telling us lower prices are likely. There's a lot of indicators in confluence saying that bearish price action is likely gonna be what we witness in the near future for Bitcoin. So where will Bitcoin possibly find support? So I've gone ahead and put up a simple Fibonacci retracement. This is the entire move based on the ETF hype, and this is the sideways to lower action we've seen since then. As you can see, the 20-day exponential moving average is pretty much lined up with the 23% retracement at the moment, which is resistance right now. We have resistance at $30,100. That's clear cut. A lot of people would also agree with me in saying that a move of Bitcoin past 32,000 would usher in another rally. I don't think we'll actually crack that 32,000 mark until we get that ETF. Or if we don't get an ETF at all, it's going to be a little while before we crack that. And we're definitely going to see lower prices before we break that $32,000 ceiling. So the numbers I'm looking at, first off, is 28,000. It's not only the 50% retracement. If you look back over the year, you can see that there's a lot of congestion in this price zone. After that, we obviously have the 61% retracement, which kind of matches up with some tops and bottoms. But I think more likely, if it breaks through the $28,000 support, I think more than likely we are going to see Bitcoin find support at $26,000. So my forecast for the short term, bearish, with the caveat of whenever that ETF gets approved, we're off to the races. If we crack 32,000 before that, we're off to the races. Highly, highly unlikely. But either one of those scenarios, and Bitcoin can easily shoot up to $40,000. So be ready to pull the trigger. Or if you're a longer term investor, you might just want to buy it and hold it, knowing it might go down a little bit, but that when that ETF gets approved, if you truly believe it will, that your investment will make you a nice return. And I hope you guys have a great weekend. This is Joey. Talk to you next time. Thanks for joining us.